Imagine you're the commander of a vital supply convoy, steaming across the treacherous North Atlantic. It's the height of World War II, and your mission is to deliver life-saving supplies to Britain. The sea is a hunting ground for German U-boats, wolf packs lurking just beneath the waves, waiting for a single mistake. This was the reality for British Royal Navy Captain John Jock Harvey, the man at the heart of one of the most astonishing tales of naval warfare. The date is November 5, 1940. Convoy HX-84, a fleet of 38 merchant ships, is in the middle of the ocean. Its only protection is a single warship, the armed merchant cruiser HMS Jervis Bay. An armed merchant cruiser sounds impressive, but it was essentially a repurposed passenger liner. The Jervis Bay was an old ship, fitted with outdated 7-inch guns scavenged from the era of World War I. Its armor was thin, its speed was modest, and against a true warship, it was hopelessly outmatched. Jervis Bay wasn't meant to fight. It was a decoy, a sheepdog meant to look imposing and herd the flock. Its job was to show the flag, deter submarines with its presence, and in a worst-case scenario by the convoy, a few precious minutes to scatter. The commander of the Jervis Bay, Captain Edward Fegan, was a seasoned 49-year-old Royal Navy officer. He knew the limitations of his ship better than anyone. He also knew the immense responsibility resting on his shoulders. Those 38 merchant vessels carried food, fuel, and weapons, the very lifeblood of a nation standing alone against tyranny. Losing them wasn't an option. For days, the journey was tense but uneventful. Lookouts scanned the horizon, their eyes straining for the telltale sign of a periscope or the shadow of an enemy ship. Then, on that fateful afternoon, the lookouts' worst fears were realized. A silhouette appeared on the horizon. At first, there was a glimmer of hope. Maybe it was a friendly warship, a powerful escort sent to meet them. But as the ship drew closer, its profile became terrifyingly clear. It was no friendly face. It was the German pocket battleship Admiral Scheer. The Admiral Scheer was one of the most feared surface raiders in the German Navy. It was a technological terror, a true predator of the seas, armed with massive 11-inch guns that could hurl devastating shells over 20 miles. It possessed armor that could shrug off anything that Jervis Bay could throw at it. It was faster, stronger, and built for one purpose: to sink convoys like HX-84. The wolf had found the sheep, and the lone sheepdog was a frail old mutt. The Admiral Scheer was a battleship in all but name. The Jervis Bay was a passenger liner, with guns bolted on. The mismatch was catastrophic. On the bridge of the Jervis Bay, Captain Fegan faced an impossible choice. He knew a direct confrontation was suicide. The Admiral Scheer's guns outranged his by miles. He could be destroyed before he even got close enough to fire a single shot. The logical self-preserving move would be to turn and run, hoping to save his own ship and crew. But Fegan wasn't thinking about self-preservation. He was thinking about the 38 unarmed ships behind him. He was the convoy's only hope. Without a moment's hesitation, he gave the order. The signal flags shot up the mast, frantically communicating to the convoy, "Scatter." He ordered every merchant ship to turn and flee in all directions, to make themselves as difficult a target as possible. Then, he gave the most courageous order of his life. He turned the HMS Jervis Bay directly towards the enemy. He was going to attack the Admiral Scheer. Imagine the scene. A lone, aging liner, smoke pouring from its funnel as it strains to build speed, charging headlong towards a modern battleship. It was a David and Goliath story. But this, David didn't even have a proper sling. On the German ship, they must have watched in disbelief. What was this little ship doing? Was it an act of madness? For Captain Fegan and his crew, it was an act of supreme sacrifice. As the Jervis Bay steamed forward, Fegan ordered his crew to make smoke. Thick, black clouds billowed from the ship, creating a smokescreen to try and obscure the fleeing merchantmen. Every second he could keep the Admiral Scheer's attention on him was another second for the convoy to escape. The Admiral Scheer opened fire. The sea around the Jervis Bay erupted in colossal plumes of water as the 11-inch shells landed. The sound would have been deafening, the concussions shaking the old ship to its very rivets. The first salvo was a near miss, but the Germans quickly found their range. The second salvo hit home. A massive shell tore through the Jervis Bay's unarmored hull, exploding deep within the ship. Fires broke out instantly. The ship shuddered violently, its speed dropping, but it kept going. Captain Fegan, despite the chaos and destruction, remained calm on the bridge, directing his ship, urging his crew on. Another shell struck the bridge, mortally wounding him. Even as he lay dying, his focus was on the mission. He knew his ship was doomed. His goal was not to win, but to buy time. The guns of the Jervis Bay finally came into range. They were ancient, slow-firing weapons, but they were all they had. The British gunners, with incredible bravery, began firing back at the German behemoth. Their 7-inch shells were like pebbles against the Admiral Scheer's thick armor, bouncing off harmlessly. But they were firing. They were fighting back. They were making the enemy work for it, keeping the battleship's gunners busy, its attention fixed solely on them. For over 20 excruciating minutes, the Jervis Bay endured a relentless pounding. Shell after shell ripped into its structure. The radio room was destroyed. The gunnery control systems were knocked out. Fires raged across the decks. Yet, the crew fought on. When the automated ammunition hoists failed, they formed human chains to pass shells up to the guns by hand. Even with their ship literally being blown apart around them, they refused to surrender. They served their guns until the very end. The Jervis Bay was a blazing wreck, listing heavily, its forward section nearly submerged. With a ship sinking beneath them, the order was finally given to abandon ship. Of the 254 men aboard, only 65 would survive the icy Atlantic waters. Captain Fegan went down with his ship, a true hero who chose certain death to save others. But had his sacrifice worked, as the Jervis Bay slipped beneath the waves, the Admiral Scheer turned its attention back to the convoy. But the sky was growing dark. Captain Fegan's desperate charge and the smokescreen had bought the convoy nearly half an hour. The merchant ships were now scattered 4 miles across the darkening ocean. The Admiral Scheer managed to hunt down and sink 5 ships, a tragic loss. But because of the Jervis Bay sacrifice, 32 ships, the vast majority of the convoy, managed to escape into the night. The story of the Jervis Bay became a legend, a symbol of the unbreakable spirit of the merchant navy and its escorts. Captain Edward Fegan was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest military honor for valor in the British Commonwealth. His citation read, "For valor in suicidal action against overwhelming odds." It was a fitting tribute. He knew his decoy ship stood no chance, but in that critical moment, he transformed it into the convoy's salvation. He turned his vessel into a shield, and in doing so, ensured that the vital supplies reached Britain. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest victories aren't won by the strongest, but by the bravest. Thanks for watching. If you found this story of incredible heroism as moving as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from history. We'll see you in the next one.